Good evening and welcome to the Ora News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition, in which we are pleased to serve the international community by offering the Albanian news in English, Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. In today's news, the two people who were arrested, the employees of the Central Bank of Albania, have been questioned once again by the investigation. The investigation group has once again interrogated both of the former employees of the Central Bank, who were arrested by the police a week ago. Sources from the prosecution have stated that one of the suspects, Ardian Bitrai, has given new and valuable details about the way he stole the money from the vault of the Department for Printing Money, which is also called Department X. In his second statement, Bitrai has explained that they made the fatal mistake of opening the boxes that contained money that was waiting to be destroyed. According to him, after opening these boxes, he was spotted by the audit of the Central Bank. On its part, the prosecution of Tirana has not given any further details regarding the declarations of Ardian Bitrai. The prosecution and the members of the police have also interrogated Mimoza Bruzia once again, since in her first statement, she denied having knowledge about this theft. In her second testimony, Bruzia admitted that she was aware of the robbery, but she refused to admit that she took money in this incident. Furthermore, Bruzia declared that her colleague promised her that he would return the money, even though he did not keep his promise. The Central Bank of Albania has finished taking stock, but still the report has not been sent to the prosecution. After receiving this new evidence, it will be easier for the prosecution to uncover what happened during the last 4 years in the Central Bank of Albania. The head of the Economic Commission clearly feels that there was negligence on the part of the Central Bank of Albania. The head of the Economic Commission, Erion Brace, declared today that the theft of $7.13 million clearly shows that the function of the Central Bank has failed. Brace said that this is a grave situation, which diminishes the image of the Central Bank, as well as the image of Albania. He requested a full investigation and zero tolerance for any person who may have been responsible, starting with Governor Fulani and other high officials. He made this statement: "This incident has not only damaged the image of the Central Bank, but also the image of Albania as a country. We want zero tolerance toward anyone who is involved in this crime, starting with Governor Fulani and any other officials who were responsible for the Department of Control and Inventories," stated the head of the Economic Commission, Erion Brace. His declarations came nearly 1 hour after a session that was held behind closed doors between the governor of the Central Bank, Ardian Fulani, members of the Supervising Council of the Central Bank, and the members of the Commission of Economy. Brace also requested the prosecution to increase the number of prosecutors who are currently working on this case. "We need more people from the prosecution in order to identify every sector which has failed to function, and we want to punish everyone responsible," emphasized Brace. Regarding the closed session with the governor, Brace said that the members of the commission were informed about what has happened, and also the measures that are needed in order to restore the situation to normalcy. According to the head of the Economic Commission, the Central Bank needs to be reformed in every aspect, including the supervision and the way that they recruit personnel. "I want to say that the technological system was functioning, but the rest of the sectors that are dependent on human factors have failed completely. Everything has failed, starting with the first employee and continuing with the international audits," added the head of the Economic Commission, Erion Brace. He also guaranteed that the amount stolen is not higher than 713 million lek. The head of the parliament, Ilir Meta, has stated that the scandal in the Central Bank of Albania has created a very unpleasant situation for the country. Meta urged the prosecution to bring the perpetrators to justice and added that this incident must not be used to damage the reputation of the bank. He made these comments: "We have been witnesses of an unpleasant development, the scandal of stealing $7.13 million from the vault of the Central Bank of Albania. I want the judicial system to use all the means in its power to apprehend the responsible people. This incident must not damage the reputation of the central bank, since it was the bank itself that identified and reported these former employees to the police. I am sure that the prosecution will make a full investigation, and they will have all our full support to give maximum sentences to the perpetrators. This incident cannot damage the role of the central bank as an important factor in the macroeconomic stability of the country. I am sure that such events will happen no more, and the judicial system must ensure this by giving the maximum sentences to all those involved," stated the head of the parliament, Ilir Meta. He made these statements during the introduction of Besnik Dervishi as the new commissioner for protecting personal data. The governor of the Central Bank of Albania has released some statements about the recent theft from his bank. The governor of the Central Bank, Ardian Fulani, declared today during a press conference that the theft occurred due to the failure to follow regulations. But he added that so far, all controls and technology are working properly. According to Fulani, now the central bank is working closely with the prosecution in order to bring the responsible people to justice. The governor of the central bank, Ardian Fulani, also said that his institution is taking measures to fix the financial damage and to restore the situation back to normal. He said, "There have been continuous and regular controls in accordance with the law. The lack of responsibility and the fact that some people have broken the rules led to this theft. The central bank is continuing with its administrative investigations to uncover everything that we possibly can regarding this incident. On its part, the prosecution is continuing with their investigations to bring everyone responsible to justice. We will see this matter through to the end and identify everyone who participated in this crime. The central bank is waiting for the prosecution to conclude its investigations, but at the same time, we are working closely with them in order to guarantee the proper functioning of all processes." He continued, "The central bank has taken all measures to eliminate the consequences of this incident and increase the level of control in this institution. The central bank guarantees that it is fulfilling its mission in preserving all possible equilibriums, and we guarantee that we have all the instruments to repair this damage. We will take measures that such things can never happen again," concluded the governor of the central bank, Ardian Fulani. The Minister of Economy is directing his ministry in order to bring more foreign investors to the country of Albania. The Minister of Economy, Arben Ahmetaj, requested his employees to commit themselves to attracting potential investors to Albania. During the introduction of the achievements made in the first 300 days of the government, Ahmetaj stated that Albania must integrate even more with the regional market. He said, "We are in service of enterprises, and this is the beginning of our responsibility. Each one of us must be more committed to attracting potential foreign or local investors. Only when we see potential investors becoming real investors can we be proud of ourselves. Only then we will be proud of the economic development experienced by the country. Minister Ahmetai made these comments during a presentation of the work of his institution in the first 300 days of its work. He continued, "We promise that in September, we will terminate the actions in all non-strategic sectors. During the next year, we will improve a lot in doing business. We will make our economy an integrated and transparent one," concluded the Minister of Economy, Arben Ahmetai. The Democratic Party has reacted against the recent government decision to monitor private cell phones. The Democratic Party has addressed the Ombudsman regarding the decision of the government to have access to the personal data contained on mobile phones. The Democratic deputies Arben Ristani and Kastriot Islami requested the independent institutions to act and to protect the rights and freedoms of the people. Ristani made this statement: "This decision of the government violates the Constitution and the Albanian law, since it gives the majority the right to have access to personal data. These actions are against the international laws, and I believe that you are all aware of the decision of the Tribunal of Luxembourg against this matter. The Democratic Party has already sent a request to the Constitutional Court, but we also hope that the independent institutions of this country will protect our human rights," stated the Democratic deputy, Arben Ristani. It appears that this matter is outside of the powers of the Ombudsman. His announcement stated that the Ombudsman is aware of the problem mentioned by the Democratic Party, and he will see if this matter falls within his competencies. The Democratic MPs commented, "The Ombudsman agrees with our concern, but according to him, this matter is outside of his competencies. Still, we believe that this is a violation of human rights. We will attend other meetings with the Commissioner and argue for the preservation of personal data. But it is important for us to know that all the independent institutions of the country are working, since the criminal sector is strengthening each day, and these actions of the government clearly demonstrate this." The head of the government, Edi Rama, was present today at the presentation of the first 300 days of the Ministry of Education. During his speech, Rama stated that some of the private universities in the country will be closed, since according to him, they have turned into businesses that just take money from the pockets of parents. Prime Minister Rama stated that some of these universities produce diplomas that have no value. The Prime Minister emphasized that in December, a well-known agency will start the process of accreditation for all universities. According to the head of the government, this process will bring the Albanian education system closer to the standards of the European Union. He emphasized that the current government will have zero tolerance against all those universities that do not fulfill the conditions to be in the educational system. The accreditation of universities will generate competition, he said, and improve the situation, so that every parent knows where he is sending his children, concluded Prime Minister Edi Rama. The primary witness in the case of Arben Throku seems to have disappeared in mysterious circumstances. Today, the Tribunal of Serious Crimes expected a testimony against Arben Throku, who is accused of the murder of the Chief Commissioner, Dritan Lamaj, in February 24th of last year. Despite their expectations, the key witness in this case did not show up. The session took place without the presence of the media. Earlier, one of the witnesses, Arben Ndoka, declared that he saw Throku at the scene of the crime, on the night that the Chief Commissioner Lamai was murdered. But today, Throku's attorneys declared that this witness is missing. The Department of Witness Protection also declared that they have lost all contact with Ndoka. According to the lawyer of the defendant, his client must be exonerated since he is facing an unjust sentence. So far, this request has been rejected by the court. It appears that the investigation in Kosovo does implicate some of the high leaders of the KLA. Clint Williamson's statement that the KLA leaders will be accused of crimes reveals that the list will include KLA leader Hashim Thaçi, writes a daily paper. Besides Thaçi, among those to be accused of war crimes will also be 10 former members of the KLA. Quoting a source from a Serbian government, the newspaper reported that one should not be surprised if procedures for organ trafficking are also initiated before a new court for KLA crimes. The report of Prosecutor Williamson is very positive for Serbia, and it's a very important thing. The full significance will be seen when the time comes for indictments, an unnamed source was quoted as saying. The U.S. prosecutor, who is at the helm of an EU investigative team, presented his statement on Tuesday in Brussels. He told reporters that there was insufficient evidence showing that the people who were kidnapped in Kosovo in 1999, mostly Serbs, had their organs forcibly removed and sold on the black market by the KLA. He said that there was evidence of involvement in ethnic cleansing by some of the top leaders of the KLA. The fact that there is no evidence of organ harvesting so far does not mean that there will not be any, Williamson was also quoted as saying. He added that the investigations would continue. The president of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europem, or PACE, Anne Brasseur, has welcomed a report by the second prosecutor, John Clint Williamson, concerning an investigation into the 1999 Kosovo organ trafficking case. She expressed satisfaction that truth's onward march continues also in this case. Although no final conclusions have as yet been presented, SITF, or the EU Special Investigative Task Force, has found compelling evidence which will be used to file indictments against certain former senior officials of the Kosovo Liberation Army, or KLA. The evidence relates to major human rights violations, findings that are largely based on and consistent with Dick Marty's report, which was presented to the Parliamentary Assembly in 2011, Anne Brasseur said. In its resolution on the subject, which was adopted in the same year, the PACE emphasized that there cannot be one kind of justice for the winners and another for the losers. They pointed to the resolution's statement that whenever a conflict has occurred, all criminals must be prosecuted and held responsible for their illegal acts, whichever side they belong to, and regardless of their political role. She said that it is reassuring that the SITF is characterized by a high level of professionalism. She also noted with satisfaction that the EU is giving the necessary support to combat organized crime and to ensure that justice is done without any considerations of political implications. I note with regret the existence in certain quarters of a climate of witness intimidation, and I call on the authorities of Serbia, Albania, and the Kosovo administration to cooperate unreservedly with ongoing investigations, the PACE president concluded. Williamson told a press conference in Brussels yesterday that the SITF had collected ample evidence of the KLA committing war crimes and crimes against humanity and conducting a systematic ethnic cleansing campaign targeting primarily Kosovo Serbs and Roma people. He announced that an indictment had been filed against several KLA officers, He did say, however, that the investigative team had not found enough evidence for a trial about the alleged extraction of organs from Serb captives during the 1998-1999 war, but that there were strong indications that at least 10 victims were subjected to this terrible crime. The Serbian Prime Minister held a very important meeting yesterday with the ambassador from the United States. On Tuesday, the Serbian Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić conferred with the U.S. Ambassador Michael Kirby on a series of issues, especially those connected to Serbia's EU path. Commenting on the opening of Chapter 35, which covers the Kosovo issue, Vučić underscored that he hopes the Kosovo government will be constituted soon, so that the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue can continue. The talks between Kirby and Vučić were open, comprehensive, and friendly, and lasted for over 90 minutes, according to the Serbian Department for Cooperation with the Media. The officials exchanged views on the key political, security, economic, and all other issues of mutual interest for the U.S. and the Republic of Serbia. Furthermore, Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić said that Serbia's loyalty to the European Union is not in question. He called on Brussels to respect the vital national interests of the country and not expect it to cause harm to its own economy for the sake of the EU path. The government will continue to defend Serbia's vital interests, and it is not ready to change that policy, said Vučić, commenting on the message conveyed by the Italian foreign minister. The message said that Serbia is expected to demonstrate a higher degree of alignment with the foreign policy of Brussels in terms of sanctions against Russia. The situation in which Serbia has found itself is not easy, said the Prime Minister at the government session held on Monday in Nice. He stressed, however, that he can proudly say that Serbia is persisting on the EU path and that it is respected and treated as a sovereign state and a serious partner around the world. We will be able to safeguard both our state and economic interests. Only time will tell, the Prime Minister said, noting that this will depend on the competence of the Serbian government and the circumstances that may occur. Our foreign policy is clear. Our loyalty to the European Union is not in question, but Serbia cannot throw away hundreds of millions of euros just to prove its political loyalty, Vučić stressed, pointing to the difficult economic situation that Serbia is in. We call on the EU to respect our national interests and not to prevent our companies from making profit just for the sake of demonstrating force against Serbia, he added. Statements by certain Ukrainian officials clearly showed that Serbia needs an alternative gas supply and that the sector can generate substantial revenue and create jobs for our citizens, the Prime Minister explained. Serbia has so far succeeded in protecting its vital interests, and it will continue to defend its position in the future, Vučić stressed, adding that in case of any changes, the new policy will have to be pursued by someone else. Talks will begin in Serbia tomorrow about the possible privatization of the media outlets. On Wednesday, the Serbian parliament is starting a debate on 3 media bills that were previously adopted by the government and sent to the MPs. The bills propose that the state withdraw from ownership of the media companies by July 2015, and that the ownership structure should become transparent, with the public interest in mind and the media pluralism protected. The Parliament will urgently consider the bills on public information, electronic media, and public media services. Once the privatization of media companies is complete, they will be able to apply for state funds for the content that represents public interest in the informational sector. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the news for this evening. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for more Albanian news in English. Thanks and good night.